Alrighty. Good morning, everybody. It's a Friday morning. Yay. Yay, yay, yay. The weekend is finally here. All right. My name is Themba Robin. I will be your host for this morning. As you can see over here, we have Leigh-Ann Mole. There she is, looking magnificent. She's great. And over here, we have Gareth Cliff. Look at him. Fantastic. All right. Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. What's happening? Hey, Themba. Nice to see you, dude.
Likewise. Thank you.
No. What's been going on with you, dude? You've been working as hard as when we last checked in on you. You were doing like 23 jobs at the same time.
Slaving, man. Absolutely slaving. Got back from Capetonian yesterday on the 5 a.m. flight, which is not recommended. I don't think I'll ever do that again. And
they call that the red eye, huh?
Yeah, no, that's it, eh? And was my wife's birthday. I only got home at about 5 in the afternoon. Crazy time.
I thought you had a wife and real responsibilities.
Yeah, and a 10-month-old baby, which is surprising.
Talk about responsibilities. Oh my God.
This is it, eh?
Damn.
Yeah.
Leigh-Ann Mole, what do we got planned for the weekend?
I've just taken, as I mentioned last week, a week off of work.
Nice.
And the week has come to an end today. And you know that you do reflect back and you think,
what did I do with this?
Yeah. I'm at that point where I'm thinking, did I waste it?
And did you waste it?
No, I mean, I did some things that I really needed to do, and I needed to rest. So, but it's never enough. You always think you should pack more into your free time.
I always feel like that. Absolutely. It never seems to. Yeah, I mean, every time I think I've had a very productive, good day, I'm always like, well, I could have always squeezed this as well.
Like other people do so much more than what I do.
Oh, well, that's how I feel most of the time. I'm always like, oh God, I'm lazy and I'm not doing enough.
But there's a stupid reference that everybody uses, and they say, "Oh, but Beyonce has the same amount of hours in a day," and I'm like, "Yes, but Beyonce doesn't have to mop her own floor. Like I have to get that done." Like,
that's a good point. I mean, I learned that over the December holidays because I was doing all of that as well, the cleaning and shit.
Yeah,
it's not great. When you have to do everything, you suddenly realize, like, oh, okay, that's why when people make some money, they get someone else to do that stuff.
Exactly. So that's why they're doing all of this amazing stuff, because they aren't mopping floors and they aren't buying their own groceries and packing boxes to move.
No, definitely. So what do we have on the agenda for this morning? Well, we've got a bunch of stuff. Obviously, Themba and Leigh-Ann have both brought a huge agenda that they want to enter into the record this morning. But besides that, we've got 5 things that you need to know. We've got Riaan Manser joining us. I always like Riaan Manser. He is, of course, a pioneering explorer. He's someone with 4 world firsts. So that includes circumnavigating the African continent by bicycle, which is, I mean, that's, it's a big fucking deal. That,
Again, people are doing things on a much higher level than us.
What did you do with your week off? I just went around Africa on a bicycle. He's also circumnavigated Madagascar and Iceland by kayak.
Oh, no way.
And he's got a Guinness World Record for crossing the Atlantic from Morocco to Miami in a rowboat. I mean, how's that? Across the Atlantic.
That's insane.
Life is but a dream.
He is properly insane.
I don't own any of these modes of transport.
Like, that's the only reason why I haven't pursued.
That's been holding you back.
Yeah. How many people have a kayak?
Sometimes you say to someone, "Why were you late?" or "What was the problem?" They're like, "Transport." You're like, well, in his case, the transport is like, it's complicated, right?
Yeah.
He could get to the office in a rowboat. He's got options. The rest of us,
he's got lots of options. Okay, so here we are. Gavin says, "Can we have a reintroduction to Themba? He seems like a cool cat." So How do you introduce yourself to people who've never met you before? Like someone was saying that you're the Kota King earlier. So a lot of people know you from ads and all the rest of it. Here we go. Sandile says, Thabo, the Kota King. But just tell us, like, give us the very...
The blurb.
Yeah, well, the précis. Yeah, let's go for that. The blurb.
So yeah, hi guys. My name is Themba Robin. I'm an actor, voice artist, content creator.
Yes.
Among many things. And so most people know me as Thabo the Kota King from Budget Insurance Ads, the hippo guy, which is something I try. It's very hard when people shout out in public, "There's that hippo guy," because there's a weight. There's a weight thing attached to it. It's like, hey, what are you talking about? And also those who haven't seen the hippo ads just assume that people are just being rude. But yeah, so I think that's it in a nutshell.
Hey, hippo. Yeah. And you're like, excuse me? What did you say? What did you just
And husband and father.
No.
And husband and father, and most definitely not the guy from Leon Schuster's movies.
No. Sam, do you get confused for him?
Oh, so often. So often.
Really?
Old Alfred and Tombela, yeah. I've actually had to fight off a little old lady before because she just didn't believe me. I said to her, listen, I'm not Alfred and Tombela. And she was like, Shorty, sign my napkin. And I was like, please. And then eventually I signed it. So somewhere someone's got a fake autograph.
Dude, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. Like you just did it to get away, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Get out of the situation.
You know, I heard the story early yesterday, and I didn't know whether to believe it or not. And it's been confirmed. So Cooley Roberts died, and there are no details about what happened. You know who Cooley Roberts is, right?
Mm.
So I've always had a very soft spot for her, and I've always thought she was a real entertainer. She gave her all to everything, and Cooley's always been one of those people who she just made everybody smile, and she obviously caused shit wherever she went as well. But I can't help liking people like that. And she's also the sister of one of our Cliff Central family, Hlubimboya. You know, and Cooley Roberts, I have to say, I'm not sure any detail about, you know, how she died or what happened, because she wasn't, you know, she was by no means old or sick or any of that stuff, as far as I know. But I do feel like a little light has gone out in South Africa, because she was fearless. She always had something to say. She was like the world's best gossip. She was ready to just climb in with teeth and claws and whatever was required. And I'm just very, very sad to know that Cooley's gone. She was very special. I know there were tons of people who just did not like anything about her. But really, she was very cool. And every time I ever saw her, I laughed my backside off. And I'm sad. I'm just very sad about it. Poor old Cooley Roberts. So rest in peace, baby.
Mm.
Shitty, huh? Bad news to start your day with you.
She was 49.
Yeah, it's
wow. And there was no detail on what happened to her, Leigh-Ann?
There's stories about her friends saying that she just collapsed. That's according to a True Love article, saying that she, as a presenter on Trending SA, formerly as we remember her, apparently she was getting ready to do a radio crossover on Wednesday night just before 10 o'clock, but she collapsed and never woke up. Apparently before that she was absolutely fine. She was relaxing with her friends at a get-together, and at that get-together she collapsed and then never woke up.
No, man. That's awful.
Scary.
I suppose there are autopsies, etc., that'll confirm what went wrong, but obviously her family's asked for privacy, and you know, it's up to them whether they choose to share this information or not. She has 2 children and a grandchild. And then we remember that her one sister is Hlubimboya, who's also an actress. So yeah, that's all we know at the moment.
Very, very sad. You know, it's it's so shitty. Like the way everything's so temporary. I tend to get emotional about only a few things in the world, but this is one of them. It's like everything is so bloody temporary. Just enjoy every minute you have, and don't fight with people, and don't find reasons to dislike somebody when there's so little time on earth. It's such a waste of time to be angry or to hold a grudge or any of that shit. Just like move on, And here's Cooley, and she's here 1 minute and gone the next minute. It's awful.
So, no, that saying, you don't know what you got till it's gone. It's overly used and so cliche, but it just is what it is. It's so true. As soon as you leave the house one morning, you come back, and like we lost our little pup the other day. Not that it's even comparable kind of thing, but sure. You leave for work,
sure,
and then you come back, and it's weird. Like you think back, and I go, I was going to walk him the day before, and I didn't. I'm like, I wish I just walked, and it's like the simple things. So
yeah,
it's definitely make the most of each day.
Yeah. Hey, that's the lesson. You're quite right. And where does that line come from? You don't know what you got till it's gone. Isn't it
don't
from
know what you got till it's gone? Hey,
Paradise,
put in a parking lot.
You don't know what you got till it's gone.
Yeah. Who is that? Who sings that song? Paved paradise, and you put up a parking lot.
I've been singing the wrong lyrics for years. Then I thought it was Green Paradise. Yellow taxi.
Big yellow taxi. Thank you. Big yellow taxi. Very nice. Very nice. Thank you. I knew there's always someone listening who's way more in tune and way more together in the mornings than any of us would be. And it's not Alanis Morissette. That's wrong. There's also people like Ruth. Ruth is like, it's Alanis Morissette. No, but before Counting Crows, someone else did it. It was Amy something or another. Hang on. Now I'm just going to have to look it up because this is going to drive me crazy. Big yellow. Let's do this and see. They go with the
Amy Grant.
Vanessa Carlton did it, but there's someone who did it before that. Was it Amy Grant? I don't know, dude. This is so annoying. Joni Mitchell wrote it. That's who it was. Joni Mitchell. Very good. Thank you very much. Excellent. All right. So let's get on to some things. First of all, Adidas has put out a lovely picture of a whole lot of women's breasts, and apparently it's got some people very fired up. So here it is. Adidas said, "We believe women's breasts in all shapes and sizes deserve support and comfort, which is why our new sports bra range contains 43 styles, so everyone can find the right fit for them. And they've got a whole bunch of titties in the end."
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think this is a problem. Who thinks it's a problem?
Definitely
so
not me.
There've been a lot of men in the community, in the online community.
Oh.
In the online community who've stood up
community
and said,
or just people on the internet? Because when I go on the internet, the last thing I think is, I'm in this community. People hold hands, because people just use that word community for everything. It just does not count.
This is very true. I tell you what, I couldn't be happier with this. But anyway, let me tell you what some men are saying. Brian Suave. Dear ladies, there's no reason whatsoever for you to post pictures of yourself in low-cut shirts, bikinis, bra and underwear, or anything similar ever. Not to show your weight loss journey, not to show your newborn baby, not to document your birth story, your brothers. Yeah, thanks, dude, for telling me that, because I really, really don't care. What I do care about is that for me, boobies are a touchy point. I've certainly embraced them and got over them in my life, but there weren't pictures of boobies of all types going around when I was younger.
No, they only showed the best ones when you were. And they were the perfect size and the perfect look, and they were,
Were they the perfect size and the perfect look, or were they just what the magazines had chosen to feature? And so for the longest time, I mean, I still have nightmares about being topless. If I'm completely naked and I fear someone might walk into a room, since young, I've always covered my breasts first. It's been
if you're naked, do you cover your breasts first, or do you
Oh,
go and
definitely.
cover the lower bits first? Oh, really?
No, definitely. It's something that I've lived with, that I've, pardon the pun, carried with me for my whole life. It made the start of relationships awkward and difficult for me. And to see this array of boobs, there are more boobs here that look like mine than there aren't.
Let's have a look again. Now that we've heard that, there we go. Take a look.
And it's absolutely refreshing.
Okay.
They're talking about how they have bras for all different shapes and sizes and a swing factor, let's put it that way. And they're just normalizing what breasts look like, which I think is such an important message. And I really don't need men's opinions on it telling me that I shouldn't approve of this.
But I don't know that
it's really got nothing to do with them. It's not even their body part.
Do you really think that there might be a handful of guys who think it's their job to climb in and like offer an opinion on breasts of some stranger? I mean, when you're at high school or maybe even at university, you discuss women's breasts as like a doctoral thesis, but eventually it becomes just something that you are happy to see every now and then.
Definitely.
I don't know that people are lining up to say shitty things about those unnamed and unmentioned women in this picture. And what's wrong with that one? And do you like the one in the top left more than the one in the bottom right? I mean, come on.
I think people still have to. Sorry, go for it.
If anything, there's a bit of a lack of representation and diversity. That's the only thing I can complain about in this. I think there's one black woman and maybe two darker skinned women, but the rest are all white ladies.
So
that's my complaint.
You were counting the racial representation of the team. Good work.
I didn't even notice the hues. I was just like, that's the most boobies I've seen in a little while. But in the same breath, though, the guys that are leaving comments, you have to ask yourself, are they perfect specimen? I mean, clearly this man's offended about people being free and enjoying it, and it's just a weird thing to stop the bus for. You're scrolling through the internet, you're going, this is what upsets me. There's a whole internet full of other things that should upset you.
Totally. Absolutely. That's 100% right. I mean, it also upsetting you. Like, I don't know if there is a guy who's genuinely upset about it. He's pretending to be like, oh, I don't like those. But it's not like someone is actually going to go through their day being really properly upset about a pair of breasts or a bunch of breasts that he hasn't.
Imagine getting to the office and someone going, hey, Gareth, how's your morning going? You're like, it was fine, but
until I saw them titties.
Boobs. Ruined my morning. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. Now my mother and sister and daughters all think that they need to do the same, and I feel like they're being objectified.
Stone Philosopher says, it looks so titivating.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Indeed.
Vyasan says, I feel like doing a pie graph, Leigh-Ann. That's exactly right. Captain Cook says, next time I want unsolicited boob pics, I will ask them not to share them.
Said no man ever.
Said no man ever.
Yeah.
And Michael says, girly boys get upset at the sight of women's breasts. Envy, that's all. Yeah. I think there may be a spot of truth in what Michael's saying there. So a different Michael says, please, me, Anne, you also have a body type you find attractive and would say it's perfect. Like, don't you, there's a certain look that would turn you on more than another look? Yeah.
I'm not saying you need to love all the boobs, Michael.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's got nothing to do with loving them. It's got to do with what bra would, help support them when you're exercising.
Don't you remember when we took one of your bras and we filled it with oranges or something? Potatoes, that's right.
We put it on Daemon and we filled it with potatoes. I think we got about 9 potatoes in each.
No, almost a whole bucket of potatoes went into that bra.
Correct.
I think we even like had it in the studio just hanging there for a while until someone complained.
Yeah. It's like those 5-minute crafts where a woman takes her bra, cuts off the one cup and wears it as a mask, and it's supposed to be a hack. Yeah, and then in the next frame you've got Woman Like Me, where it covers your whole face. You look like you're going fencing.
Right. I mean, yeah, yours looked like a fencing mask. Yonder says, boobs have healing powers. Many men have been saved from depression and low self-esteem. Amen. Hail the boobs and hail the women who have boobs. Yes.
Amen.
Carl says, my wife's boobies are a touchy point for me too. Okay. No, so well then, listen, I do think that there's going to be a point somewhere in the not too distant future where everyone is going to end up naked on the internet. And when that happens, it won't be a big deal anymore. You know, at this stage, everybody's still, well, I don't know if it's even such a big deal now, to be perfectly frank, because, I mean, if you think about, you can probably find a topless picture of any actress in Hollywood. I mean, a lot of them, you can, if you just Google like ex-actresses' boobs, and they'll come up, right? There'll be a picture. So ultimately, everyone will end up naked on the internet, and then it won't be a thing anymore. People will be like, oh, yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
I can concur. I did extensive research in my teen years.
Absolutely.
I've been moved through lists and lists, and 80% rate.
You wrote the doctoral thesis on this, didn't you?
Correct, sir.
It was you, yeah. Good. All right, so you just had a son a little while ago. We got to talk about this because we've discussed many times on the show the inherent danger in giving a child a shitty name. And you know, a lot of people in South Africa and the world name their kids terrible things, and then these poor children have to grow up with the worst name ever. And you know, if your name is I mean, there's such horrible one. I don't want to pick just one while we're talking like this, but my God, I've met some people and I go, huh? What's your name?
When you have to pass that, like, the third ask, sorry, again? What?
And how do I spell that? You know? How do I spell that? That doesn't sound like a real name. What's going on? So you had to go through this process. Did you draw up a little table of preferred names that you and your wife would agree on, and then you eliminated them one by one? Or did you get, because like I know some couples where if you have two kids, the husband or the wife gets to name the first one, and then whichever other partner gets to name the second one. It's almost like a, you know, this one, it's my turn now to name the child. How did you guys do it?
Well, first of all, I don't think it's safe to play the game like that, because you know, your spouse might have a totally terrible idea and they're given free reign on the second child. It's not going to be great for you. But we got a whole list of boy and girls names, because we didn't know at the time, and then we just sort of refined the list from there. And you know, you veto a couple of names from the list. But I was actually talking about this with a colleague yesterday, and I was saying the sort of recipe I use is I go, okay, listen, let's put him in a boardroom and let's put him with his mates. And if he's in a boardroom, you want someone to announce him. So if he has to walk in and his name's like Jimmy Bob, you know, I don't know. Is he going to get respect from his colleagues?
Like Jimmy Bob's that's no good, right?
Listen, that's going to garner a lot of respect in saloons and bars across
Jimmy
America.
Bob?
Yeah.
Hey, Jimmy Bob, did you leave your gun outside?
But you know, there's a point at which you take creativity to it goes too far, and I think it's nice to have a name that's nicknameable. You get affection from friends and all of that, but you need to have an element in the name that says, "Hey, listen, if this guy wants to be a CEO."
What did you guys decide on?
Benjamin.
Okay.
So he's Ben for short, which is quite cool, social. But then Benjamin's entering the office.
Ben or Benjamin is a real name. It's not like some made up shit that people came up with. Like here, for example, Venetia says, shitty name I heard this week is Erilid. The dad is Eric and the mom is Lydia. The poor girl. It's a girl's name, Erilid. I mean, that
sounds like a detergent.
Yeah, I keep a list of shit names. Most of them are like Afrikaans names, and I don't want any Afrikaans people to get upset with me now and go, "Oh, you just victimizing us." But there is a fucking epidemic going on in Afrikaans families with combining names that just are the worst thing ever. And I added here's one that I found the other day: Norleen, Naulene.
Sure.
Norleen.
All she needs is the surname Nordia to go with that.
Well, it may even that's probably where the first three letters of the name come from, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's Norleen. Oh, what a name. Rianka. Hananya. Here's a great one. And I promise you this is an actual name. Vakkolyn. Fakkulane. You see?
What are you called for short? Faku. What's the
exactly Faku?
Fucks.
Now that, if you call your daughter, your precious little girl, and she wakes up and she looks at you with those innocent eyes, and you're like, "Hello, Fakkulane." It's like it's a cruelty.
There is no way of pronouncing that name that justifies it.
Mm-mm. And imagine also how non-Afrikaans people all over the world are going to respond to this. They're going to be like, American, "Hey, Vakkulane."
Exactly. Doesn't matter.
You can't go anywhere with a bad name. Your bad name will restrict you to your country.
Oh my God.
And then there's people.
I tease my Afrikaans friends. I'm like, okay, so his name is this, her name is that. Then I combine the names for them, and they're like, ugh. That's disgusting. But for some people, it's like very creative.
But on the note of creative, is people who take a normal name, like, "Hi, what's your name?" "Michelle." And you go, "Do I spell that M-I-C-H?" And they're like, "No, it's M-I-Y-S-B."
Yeah.
Like, why? Why is this like this?
The only time that's acceptable is if you have like a traditional Irish name or something like that, where it might not make sense. But I mean, I have my own difficulties with just the name Leigh-Ann and the different ways that that's spelled. I don't even notice anymore when my name is spelled wrong, because I'm just used to seeing it
Leigh-Ann
that way.
So many different ways to spell Leigh-Ann, right? So you've got a huge chance of getting it wrong if you haven't seen it written out somewhere before.
The only thing that really annoys me is if I sign off my email from Leigh-Ann and they go, "Dear Leigh-Ann," and spell it wrong.
Yeah, that's a lack of attention to detail.
Zero
David,
effort.
So David says his name is David, obviously, and his wife's name is Belinda. So they're going to name their kids Davinda or Bedavid. That's what I'm talking about.
Bedavid. That sounds like bidet.
Ooh, Andre's got a good one. I must add this to my list. Juanika. So, I mean, my list is substantial. I mean, look at this. It's probably it's down to like 4 or 5 pages by now.
Of terrible names.
Oh, Natalie's got a good one.
Ooh, Buanda. Oh,
no.
Buanda.
That's cool for Boo-Boo for short. But again, you apply the CEO element. Oh, Boo-Boo would like your email on his desk. Well, Boo-Boo's not going to get it today. Sounds like a clown.
After hearing the name Buanda, I just want to go back to the titties. Sorry.
Bring some normality to the world.
No, it's ridiculous. I mean, okay, I've heard some terrible names. I try to collect them, but you can't do this. If we can be serious for a second, you said it, Themba, like if they're in the boardroom and they call out your child's name, it's got to be something that doesn't make people go, that would be bad.
Yeah. But also, people don't listen. People don't listen to names. So, saying names are really difficult. So I often introduce myself and I say, "Hi, I'm Themba. Nice to meet you." And look, it doesn't help that I've been in a couple of ads where my character's name is Tabo. But before that even happened, people would be like, "Oh, nice to meet you, Tabo." And I'm like, "No, I literally just said Themba." And then some people combine like this weird name that I've never heard before is Tambo. I'm like, where in the world did you ever meet a Tambo? I'm like, so, and that's for my name, which is relatively easy. So I'm like, when you have
Joahin, and people are like, huh? Okay, I'll just call you Nosh. I mean, there's a lot of that patronizing shit that goes on too. And it's obviously it's easy to pick on white people because a lot of them don't know how to pronounce a lot of this stuff. I mean, Leigh-Ann's very good with which click goes where and, kind of how to do the Sutu OE pronunciations and all of that stuff. And like you also have in Sutu, the L, sometimes it's not an L. You know what I mean?
Why? Yeah.
Yeah. So if you don't know that stuff, you're going to make mistakes. So it's easy to pick on, people who just don't know this stuff. But there are some very, very lazy people who just shorten everyone's name. So, for example, your name might be Nosiviwe or whatever. Nos. And they're like, I'm just going to call you Nos because it's too much for me to remember. So what? You're just going to call Malcolm Mel because you can't say Malcolm? No, that's not right. I do remember there was a family I knew where the dad's name was Dick, and he had two sons, and he called them Tom and Harry. So it was Tom, Dick, and Harry. And I thought,
no ways.
You know the joke, right? I mean, like every Tom, Dick, and Harry. I'm like, come on.
What would be weird is if you told them, you're like, the joke, right? And you say Tom, Dick, and Harry, and then then they suddenly realize and they go, oh, I never thought of it like that.
Who are you talking about?
It's like when I was growing up, I was obviously brought up in the Van der Stad household. That was my maiden name.
Yes.
And we often used to get phone calls in the days of before emails, where your phone rang non-stop for important things. And someone phoned and said, "Hi, can I speak to any Van der Stad?" I said, "Well, I'm Leigh-Ann. There's my mom's here, my dad's here, but it's my mom's initials, NE."
Oh, that's awesome. I like that a lot. That's very cool. There's some hilarious names, but there are also some, like Benjamin I like. I can't tell you how refreshing it is, Themba, to hear someone who's called their kid an actual normal name.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be smart about it because you see a lot of people are not creative and they're not very interesting. And then they pour what little shallow pathetic bit of creativity they have, they tip that little bit into the name of their child and they fuck it up so badly. Like that's the one thing you don't want to be too creative about. Just there are plenty of good names that have stood the test of time. Go with those.
And I see Ricky commenting on the way school children are, and that's the thing. School kids are ruthless.
And
they
mean,
are
right?
Absolutely. You are going to set your child up for a lifetime of torture if listen, you can't choose your surname, but we had a raper in our school.
Oh dear.
What?
And well, yes, the surname was raper, not like there was an actual
what a surname.
Offense.
Imagine,
but
imagine at what point in history the family said, "Oh, that's going to be our surname." Granny came back from I don't know, fetching water at the well, and Grandpa was like, "I've just come up with our surname. All the other people in the village have a surname, and some of them are named after things, and some of them mean nothing at all. But I've chosen Raper." And she went, "Yeah, that's a good one. We'll go with that. Raper. Oh my god."
And then you've got to think of the initials because then you're Zay Raper or you Raper. If the name starts with a U, it just gets very messy.
You have to be careful, as DK says, with the surname Hunt, because if you call your child Mike Hunt, that's not that's not a good one. Do people still call their kids Koos? Says Michael. I don't know, but Dr. Robin's got a compliment for you, Themba. I have to say, Themba Robin is a great name. My daughter is Thandi Robin.
Hey, I won't lie. Whenever people try to find me on social media, I'm like, put in Themba Robin. You're never going. There's not going to be a duplicate. Just pop it in. True. It's usually so. I must watch out that Thandi doesn't get any of my followers, just in case.
Thandi or Themba, yeah, because of course, like some white person's going to say, Thandi and Themba. What's the difference?
Okay, my last pet peeve though with names is when people think calling me Thembi is like a cute diminutive. Like, no, guys, don't do that. Can I just call you Thembi for short? No, No,
it changes everything.
So Thembisa Odendaal says her husband's name is Koos. Oh my God. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he's terrific. Audrey says, I dealt with a lovely guy when I was dealing in Forex whose name was Hugh Topless. Topliss. That's awesome. Hugh Topless. I'd like my surname to be Topless. That's funny. And then, of course, there are those names which have gone out of fashion. I can't imagine why no one calls their kid Adolf anymore. Used to be a very fashionable name in Germany.
Harriet.
I don't know what happened there, but something went wrong.
Yeah.
Hillary is also an awful name, and someone says here, Vladimir, Karl, Adolf, Hillary, all great names. But that's from Kim Jong-un. So what do you expect? All right. Very good. We got lots of other things to get to. Let me just give you a few headlines before you start your morning, because there's quite a lot going on, and we thought we'd just fill you in this morning on some of the important things. And we mentioned Cooley Roberts, who was the life of any gathering, according to her own family. She passed away yesterday. We don't know much about how, or what, or where, or when. Nomakula Cooley Roberts, described by her family as an all-round media personality who was always the life of any gathering. In a statement released on Thursday, Roberts' family confirmed she passed away on Wednesday in Johannesburg, but gave no detail. The 49-year-old was a radio and TV presenter who also worked as an editor and columnist for print publications. Media colleagues like Terry Peto and Thomas Gumede have remembered Roberts as an icon who was a joy both on and off screen. Very, very sad story, that. But bears repeating, because she was kind of part of our family too. So we mentioned Wordle the other day. Anybody playing Wordle?
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Tell us, how are you doing on that? Because you're pretty good with this stuff. This is your thing.
The best I can do is a score of 2, getting it on the second try.
That's very good. Because if you're getting it in 1, it's just a lucky guess. There's no skill in getting it in 1. If you can get it in 2, that means you figured out enough in your lucky guess, but then you immediately hopped on and got the right word. And I mean, that's skill.
Applied the logic.
Yeah. But I mean, there's a whole, obviously it's become like a cult following now, and there are a lot of spin-offs. If you go onto TikTok, you can join lives of people solving them live, and getting people's input on all of that. But it's all apparently, and I can see that, got to do with the first word that you enter is the most important. And now there are debates on which first words are the best. So we'll see how that goes.
Pumi was very upset yesterday because she said they used the American spelling of a word this week. Humor.
Oh, no.
Yeah, she's like, that's not right.
Maybe color.
No, humor. HUMOR.
But color is also one of those.
Color's also, yeah.
OU.
So we had a whole conversation about that yesterday. But the story in the news today, a missing game of Wordle is what helped to end a 17-hour hostage ordeal. Listen to this. A Chicago grandmother was rescued from a 17-hour hostage ordeal after police were alerted for the unlikeliest of reasons, a missing solution to that day's Wordle challenge. Denise Holt, who's 80 years old, was alone at home on the 5th of February when a naked and mentally ill person entered her home. Where were you?
Jeez, how scary.
Where were you on the 5th, Themba?
So many days ago. Sorry, and my mind has just wandered off. If a naked person walked into my room, that's where my brain stuck. Sorry. I can't remember the days of the week right now.
All right. So anyway, this nutcase walked into her house, and her daughter in Seattle noticed something was amiss when she failed to send her daily Wordle to the daughter, because this is their thing they do, right? So according to her, she was asleep in bed, and a 32-year-old man called James H. Davis III. It's always some complicated name, right? Entered her home, pointed a pair of scissors at her. He was naked and bleeding after being cut by window shards while entering the house. I didn't think I was going to live, she said. I was in shock, and I was trying to survive. Anyway, he abducted her, but the daughter
Did she know this person?
No, she'd never met him before. He just broke into her house, and he was just crazy. It happens. There are crazy people, you know. You think you're crazy, but there are way worse people.
I mean, just picture a naked man walking past your house with going and blasting through the glass and picking up a pair of scissors.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
That's when you know you haven't picked a good neighborhood.
Yeah.
You gotta move.
Terrible neighborhood. So that happened, and if you're playing Wordle, someone will find out and they'll say, "Oh, but she didn't fill in her Wordle. She must have been abducted by a crazy person without any clothes on." That's the obvious logical step. That you
yeah.
10 out of 10 to law enforcement.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
Prince Charles, who is, of course, the heir and future king of England, has had to go into isolation after testing positive for coronavirus for a second time. Because remember, he got it earlier on in 2020 and was one of the first to get it. He had to isolate for a second time. Very exciting. Prince Charles. He's deeply disappointed not to be able to attend today's events in Winchester, which he was booked to do, and will look to reschedule his visit as soon as possible. He was due to unveil a statue in the southern city later Thursday. 73-year-old prince also tested positive in March 2020 and spent around a week isolating at the Queen's Balmoral estate in Scotland. Sir Charles, not sick, but tested positive again.
Didn't he crash his car a little while ago?
I've never been able... Sorry, go ahead.
Didn't he crash his car a little while ago? The Land Rover.
That was Prince Philip.
No, Philip.
He's the oldest.
He was the father. Charles's father, who's dead now. But he did crash the car. It's very rare that royals should be driving in the first place, but that was somewhere near the farm that he was living on in his retirement. Anyway, so Charles tested positive for coronavirus. Anyone deeply concerned? You know?
Well, this is the thing. I've never been able to figure out whether I really like him, or not. I don't dislike him, and I don't like him. He's very sort of bland to me. I don't know. You know more, Gareth.
That's what you want in a king. You don't want someone who's controversial and noisy.
Vivacious.
And like full of bounce and, has things to say about. Listen, he's controversial in some ways. I mean, he has a lot to say about the environment, which doesn't please everybody. He has a lot to say about architecture, which has got him into trouble before. He says, some buildings are hideous and should be torn down. He, of course, had the affair with Camilla, which wasn't exactly uncontroversial at the time. By the way, did you see that the Queen actually put out a letter for her 70th anniversary as Queen? And she said, please, will you guys just let Camilla be Queen Consort? Because apparently there's still lots of people all over the UK who don't like Camilla, and the Queen used her capital, because she's popular as hell, to, let people know that she would like very much for Camilla to be Queen one day.
So, I mean, Camilla should have been traditionally princess, as the Queen's husband was prince.
No.
But she'll be Queen Consort.
That's not true. Usually, if a man ascends to the throne, his wife becomes the Queen. Automatically.
Oh, okay. Well, then the article I read was incorrect. And with Queen Consort, your title is Queen.
Yeah, correct.
So she'll be Queen.
Whereas if you're a woman and you're on the throne and you are the heir to the throne and whatever, then your husband doesn't necessarily become of the same rank as you. So it's still a little bit prejudiced against men, funnily enough, not against women.
We should start a campaign.
What, make Camilla Queen now? Anyway, here's another story. A billion-year-old black diamond. I wonder which company or which tender that black diamond. Oh, no, sorry. They mean an actual diamond. Has been sold for £3.16 million. Do you want to see what it looks like?
Yeah.
Beautiful looking stone. And it's apparently 1 billion years old. Now, I mean, most rocks are very old. So I don't know whether this is a particularly old rock. I mean, the Earth is 4 billion years old or so. That's what they say. So if the whole Earth is 4 billion years old, then this thing is a spring chicken at 1 billion. But here it is. This is what it looks like. And apparently this thing is quite the talk of the town at the moment. Like everyone wants a piece of this. That's what it looks like. It is believed to be the world's largest cut diamond. Is sold for £3.16 million. It's named the Enigma, and it's 555 carats. Weighs about the same as a banana, and was expected to fetch about 4.4 million. It only got 3.16, so a bit disappointing there. Auctioneer Sotheby's said the buyer opted to use cryptocurrency for the purchase. Cool.
See, well, that looks like a bit of a rough cut, but I mean, if it hadn't been treated at all, it would have just looked like literally a lump of coal.
Yeah,
I mean, that can be made into something amazing.
It's transparent, but not very. And a lot of people are saying it's the most beautiful stone in the world. There are competing theories about the origins of the stone, including that it was carried to Earth by an asteroid. So, it might be more exciting than we think. Sotheby's did not identify the purchaser, but after the auction, cryptocurrency entrepreneur Richard Hart took to social media to claim that he was the buyer. He told his more than 180,000 Twitter followers that as soon as the payment's gone through and possession's been taken, the gem would be renamed the Hex.com diamond in reference to the blockchain platform that he founded.
There we go with naming things.
Yeah,
that's a horrible name.
Diamond. Hex. Okay, that's his platform. That's what that's his business. Anyway, so there's a very, very exciting diamond for those people who are looking for, something to buy with all that spare cash you have lying around after the lockdowns and the recession that's going on. Betty Davis, the godmother of funk, died at 77. Now, this is not the Betty Davis who you remember from movies. This is Betty with that's Betty with an E. This is Betty with a Y. And she is the pioneering U.S. singer and musician. She was dubbed the godmother of funk, and she just died this week, aged 77. She blazed the trail with her raw brand of funk and sexual lyrics that would go on to influence stars like Prince and Madonna. News of her death was confirmed on her website by her friend Constance Portis. We really are pulling out all the good names this morning, aren't we? You see what you've started here. See what you've done, Themba. So if you want to see what she looks like, so that you may or may not know who she is, you want to take a look at who Betty Davis is? Okay, let me put a picture of her up here on screen for you. That you see.
Is she the one which the song that Betty Davis Eyes refers to?
No, that would be the actress. Right. So there's Betty Davis. There she is. She looks like a cool 70s, artist. There's an afro going on there, and lots of like floral prints on this silky
satin.
Very nice. All right, but
that outfit is a vibe.
I have to be honest with you. I don't know a lot about her. Lenny Kravitz is the one who tweeted out and said, "This lady was hip before hip was hip. Her music and fashion expression had no boundaries, and she influenced the likes of Miles Davis, Jimi Hendrix. Enough said. Rest in paradise, Queen."
Sure.
So that was Lenny Kravitz. So if Lenny Kravitz says she was important, I'll take his word for it. She was also Miles Davis's second wife, which is interesting. Although they were married for just a year, she's widely credited with helping to turn him into a rock star, not just a jazz star, introducing him to artists like Jimi Hendrix and Sly Stone. His subsequent jazz rock fusion phase brought the classic album Bitches Brew, which again is funny because Bitches Brew was what Cooley Roberts used to call her column in
yes,
papers. So that's a little link that I didn't expect to find this morning. All right, so those are the news headlines that you need to know today, and we've gone full circle with them. Apparently, there's someone called Pigcasso. You know about this, Themba. Who is Pigcasso? While we're talking about artists and musicians.
He's a Capetonian who's doing very well on the art scene. He's got hooves though, which sets him apart from other Capetonian artists. But yeah, the others with hooves can't paint. Yeah. No. So he's actually a pig. If you hadn't gathered that yet, but yeah. So Pigcasso, he's been painting for a couple of years, and last year I believe he got the record for selling a piece of art, the highest selling piece of art by any animal in the world in history. And it sold for just under R500,000 rand or something, like 500,000 rand.
Good for Pigcasso.
Yeah, so I think he's from Franschhoek. He was rescued, as every good story goes. I think if he was a private school pig, he would just have a mundane, steady life, trust fund and all the rest. But he came from hard times, And his owner says, so I believe the story is she had him in a pen with a whole lot of things, and she went away, and when she came back, he had destroyed everything except for the paintbrushes. So she thought, well, he obviously wants to be an artist. So she let him paint, and this guy selling paintings all over the world.
So he's actually using paintbrushes, not just his hooves.
No, just puts a paintbrush in his mouth.
Painting here.
Yeah.
Oh,
there he goes.
Okay, well, you want to see what Pigcasso looks like and what one of his works of art? Absolutely, I knew you would. So I mean, we've already flashed pictures of a billion-year-old rock, some titties. We may as well go with a pig this morning. So here he is, Pigcasso, and there he is with one of his paintings.
And it says extraordinary. And there he is proudly standing next to his scribbles. I love it.
Exactly. He looks like any other artist, so proud of his work.
Well, the rest of us try and decide if it's worth anything.
I'll tell you what, that's better than some of them. It's better than some of the modern art I've seen.
No, definitely.
Terrible. Have you seen some of the stuff that passes for art these days? In galleries all over the world, like some people just they throw wet toilet paper at a canvas. Like, that's my expression, and what it stands for is like the difficulty of being a human in the year 2020, and it's very representative of the pandemic and the kind of difficulty so many people have had during the year of extraordinary stress and depression and hardship. So that's why the toilet paper on,
I stopped with the art when that dormitory scene got sold for like billions of dollars. It was a girl, she had her bed with like her dormitory bed all disheveled with the condom wrappers on the floor and beer bottles and stuff. And it sold for millions. And she was like, this is the representation of youth and the confusion. I was just like, I could have sold my high school bed for man. But my mother kept telling me to clean it.
Mike is obviously an art aficionado. He says it looks like that's Pigcasso's blue period that he's on at the moment. like with Pigcasso went through his blue stage. The artist formerly known as Babe, says Tracy. Very good, very good. What about his brother Pigcasso? Well, I mean, that's an actual person, Pigcasso, right?
Don't get me started.
He uses his hoof of a different kind.
Sorry, Robin's just corrected us. Earth is only 6,000 years old, so it's not 4 billion. I don't know where we got that from. I apologize wholeheartedly.
I wouldn't know.
How could I have got it so wrong? 6,000 to 4 billion? Oh, my calculations were right off. I'm so embarrassed. Anyway, so I mean, $500,000 for a pig's painting is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
You have to ask what kind of person would part with $500,000 rand.
Hopefully someone who's exactly like me and thinks like me, but has the money to play around with. Because if I could, I would.
I know you would. You love animals so much.
But this is my question is, now, is it good art, or is it a sort of emperor's new clothes kind of thing where we again, like you said, are we looking for deeper things on a canvas that's been slapped together?
Of course we are, but this is what happens with art. It becomes ridiculous at some point, and it's in the eye of the beholder. If someone is prepared to pay $500,000 rand for something, then that's what it's worth, even if that person is completely deranged. I mean, I don't know that there's any single thing in my whole life that I've spent $500,000 rand in cash on straight up, because I never had that kind of money just lying around. I've bought things and had to pay them off over years, like a house or a car or whatever. But for a picture, it must be nice to just, or that guy with the diamond, for example. It's like, I'll part with 3.1 million pounds so I can have that stone. A stone. Great.
I'd find myself needing to tell everyone all day, just rocking up at places like, hello, my name is Themba, the owner of the 1,500 rand.
I'd wear it around my neck the whole time. And people would be like, what is that? And I'd be like, it's just a little rock I bought.
Just a little stone that weighs, feel it weighs the same as a banana.
Right. So Richard's saying the Earth definitely only 6,000 years old. Geology must be completely made up. Yep, it is. And David quite rightly says, geology is God testing your faith. He put the dinosaur skeletons there on purpose to test you. That's what it is. Very important. So apparently, according to Carl, pigs make great pets because if they annoy you, then you just get bacon. It's horrible, but yes. I know someone who has a pig for a pet. They actually do.
Very interesting.
Very intelligent.
There was a pet pig in Kalk Bay when I lived there.
Oh.
When I used to walk my dog, she'd be walking her pig, who was the size of a motorbike.
Wow.
Jeez.
And it was one of those incidents where she was told that it was a little pig.
Yeah, and
And I ended up going to her place for dinner and seeing where the piggy lived. I've got some videos of the piggy. But yeah, she just eventually she took him to a farm because there are not many wide areas of Greenland in Kalk Bay. It's either fynbos or sand and sea.
Yeah.
So he went to a farm where he could roll around in green pastures.
Well, that's what you think.
That sounds like a convenient story, that. Yeah. Did she have an abundance of bacon for
next thing, ribs are on the menu at Spur. Yeah.
She opened a butchery after that.
Oh, wow. All right, we've got to take a quick break. We'll be back in a minute or two. We've got a whole lot more coming for you, including Riaan Manser, who I know everybody loves because this guy is just absolutely incredible. He's one of the most pioneering and adventurous explorers alive on Earth today. He's got a number of records. We'll talk about all the things that he's done and find out what he's going to do with Matrics in Antarctica. This is cool. So if you want to know all about that, stick around. It's going to happen in the next hour. Don't go anywhere. cliffcentral.com. It's Friday.
Her technique was called the razor. You had something to do with killing people. He looked up to the fascists, the Axis Pact.
Okayed the killing of hundreds of thousands of people, experiment on live people, tie people to poles, and then drop bombs and things on them and see what happened to them. He was plotting to bomb Pearl Harbor, take out America at the knees. Suffer from collectivism?
I started collecting when I was about 8 years old.
Do you have an obsession with objects?
I sort of got into collecting TV cars.
Are you a fanatic? A devotee? Are you someone exhibiting enthusiasm or strong passion?
When lockdown hits, when everyone was kind of bored at home, they started Googling, like, what are these things worth these days?
Cliff Central dispenses a weekly dose of collectomania. Join me as I talk to compulsive collectors. Fascinating.
The frame's total value is probably about 12,000 Rand.
Possibly a little weird.
I developed this infatuation with the Statue of Liberty.
Collectomania, Mondays on the Gareth Cliff Show. Brought to you by SA Gold Coin Exchange and the Scoin Shop. Yeah, that's about right. Collectomania, don't miss that. It's on every Monday, and it's really cool. I don't know if you've seen or heard any of this, Themba, but we talk to people who've got interesting collections of stuff. So, I think we may have mentioned it when you were on one Friday before, because you have all that stuff in the background in the what's going on there in the background of this is your studio, hey, that you've built.
Yeah, this is the control side. I actually I dressed a little bit of hair. So that of course the notorious suspected dildo from before.
Right.
But I think it's a little bit too far out of shot. I was waiting for Leigh-Ann to see. I dressed some hair on it.
Yeah.
It's mostly just a shelf where I keep my rubbish.
A whole lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I noticed that there's a little statue at the top there. Is that the Stig from?
Yeah, it's a Stig drinking bottle.
From
but it's lost the head.
Oh, really?
It's rather unfortunate. Yeah.
Shame. I'm sorry to hear that.
But luckily the brand is strong that you can still tell.
Yeah, the Stig. Because I think we had one floating around the studio at some point here as well. So anyway, there it is. So Themba's got a whole lot of shit on a shelf behind him. That's marvelous to know. Isn't that great?
Yeah, it's not a bookcase, but...
Yeah, I must quickly tell you about the Waterfall Podcast, which if you haven't heard it already, safety and security are obviously a huge priority for most people. When you choose where you're going to live or what kind of a place you want to live in, safety and security is a massive, massive thing to think about, right? It's probably the number one thing most people consider. And consequently, the need for a smart city like Waterfall to deliver effective solutions for this aspect of life is vital, but it goes way beyond security cameras. And obviously, security cameras are one thing that everybody thinks about when you think about safety and security. But on this week's brand new episode of the Waterfall Podcast, you can find out how Waterfall Estate, which is enormous and extraordinary, are able to effectively manage the estate's security and safety. Plus, an Israeli expert explains how smart city systems are able to handle everything from one person's suspicious activity to natural disasters and a whole lot more. So if you've been thinking about these things, and I guarantee you have, because I know I have, catch it on cliffcentral.com, 10 a.m. today, or you can get the podcast wherever you listen. Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever. Just make sure you go and check it out. That's the Waterfall Podcast, which is on from today. Don't miss it. Very, very cool. Riaan Manser will be joining us in a short while. He's, of course, one of the most interesting people in the whole world. He's got a very cool thing going on called the Matrics in Antarctica. And you can actually find out about this by going to matricsinantarctica.co.za. It's an initiative aimed at helping to inspire young South Africans, Matric students specifically, to think about things like sustainability, how they can make a difference to the environment, and Riaan and Professor Jonathan Jansen are both involved in this this initiative, which I think we'll have to find out from Riaan a little bit more of the detail around. But it sounds very cool. Would you, if I gave you a free ticket to Antarctica, would you go, Themba?
To be honest with you, I think I'd go to take a look. But I was running an event yesterday, and one of the guys, the keynote speaker, Riaan, I always struggle with his surname, but they went swimming. They did this mile-long swim. And the water's minus.
We know him.
Yeah. So Riaan was telling his story.
A friend of ours, yeah.
And so it's funny you should ask me. Yeah, it's funny you should ask me this the day after I watched his whole thing. So no, I don't think so. I don't believe I would.
Well, so Riaan, he swims, from like Robin Island to Table View or whatever, and I mean, listen, that's a very harrowing and difficult swim. And he's done swims all over the world. But if you sent me to Antarctica, I would consider it a punishment.
No.
The thing is, what is the alternative to do there? What else? You either go swimming and set a record, or you stand on the boat.
I spoke to a friend of mine a while ago, and he was convinced that if it becomes something which we can all afford, to like hop on a spaceship and go out to the moon or to Mars or whatever, he would be front of the queue, he says. He'd love to do that. Now, I would never, ever get on a spaceship and go to the moon or Mars. I have zero interest in going to those places, even if it was absolutely free and they looked after, let's say, first-class travel, they 5-star meals, accommodation in the best hotel in Mars, whatever. I'm still not going.
Is it your risk aversion?
I just don't. There's no body there. There's nothing to see that, apart from rocks, which you can frankly get in any desert here on Earth. I don't see the point. And as for
do you think maybe it's like for those people who want to say they've done it?
Yeah, that's exactly
like an accolade or yeah.
Mm.
That's the thing they'll boast to their friends. Oh, where were you for your summer holiday? Oh, I went to Mars. Oh, how exciting.
It is a funny thing that people do like to tell, like, I've been here. Oh, my birthday in Rome, and we traveled in. Yep. I think also hearing some of the crazy travel stories that guys have, I take my hat off to them. But I agree with you. There's a very low desire to get involved in such things.
No, dude. There's some places I don't need to go to. Like, it makes sight and captivate many people, and this is why I think people like Riaan are such champions. I mean, really, he's such an adventurer. I'm not an adventurer. Like, I don't want to be uncomfortable and cold, and Antarctica just seems like there's not a whole lot going on. If you're really into penguins, sure. Really, really into penguins, great. But otherwise, I don't see the attraction.
We have penguins here,
Yeah, you could go to Cape Town, and they stink.
And it's the mental strength to follow through on something. It's to say, if Riaan says he's going to go across the oceans in a rowboat, people are all watching and going, he better do this. And he gets in and he goes, I better do this. Whereas if it was me, I would have kicked up a huge media hype and then gotten an hour or two into it and said, this is actually not worth it. And come home and said, sorry, guys.
I don't see, you get a lot of sunburn and you're going to be very, very tired. And you could have just hopped on a plane. It doesn't make any sense to me. Mars, says Carl, is just a very far away Baghdad. That's about right. That's about right. Sarah says she would love to visit Antarctica in comfortable accommodation. But you see, that's the key, is the uncomfortable accommodation part. That's where it gets a little complicated. So I don't know if that's possible. I'm sorry, ma'am.
For me, it's definitely
the sea view room that you booked is not available. Do you mind if we give you an ice-facing room?
How's about that ice hotel? Would you stay in there?
No,
there's that ice hotel completely made of ice.
No,
that sounds horrible.
It does sound horrible
and slippery.
And you're going to be cold. Why would you? Why would you put yourself through? And furthermore, pay for the privilege of being cold. My wife and I, it's very romantic. We spent a night in the ice hotel.
Well, to be honest, we've been asked to spend money on worse things. I mean, our entire childhood, we paid R5 to wear our own clothes to school on specific days. So
that's true.
Civi's Day, what a treat!
That's true. I mean, yeah, Civi's Day was like they raised money, and wasn't there also? Did you also have like an Arbor Day where you planted trees and shit? You did that as well.
And you paid money to do manual labor outside.
Yeah. Yeah. And you'd go to the gala or the athletics meeting, and then you'd also have to pay for shit there. You're like, why are we doing this?
But it was like R2 or R5, guys.
It was a lot of money in those days.
Yeah.
Don't you sound so rich?
2.5 months pocket money.
It's a lot of money.
Tracy says Civi's Day is now R10, so it hasn't increased a lot.
That's not as bad as the petrol price. I'm happy to say. So listen, thinking of this, like my little nephew lost one of his teeth the other day because he's 8 years old. So it's obviously that it's that time of his life where he's getting his big teeth. And I asked my brother, so what's the going rate for the tooth fairy at the moment?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently. So he got R50, which is a lot of money. But apparently some of the kids are getting like $100 a tooth. Now, if I were getting 100 rand a tooth back when I was 8, I would have pulled all of them out with a pair of pliers so that I could buy all the things I always wanted. Like, how many teeth do you have? I'll take all of them, thank you. The tooth fairy would have to leave a big pile of cash for me. But that's a lot of money, right?
There's young Gareth waiting up at night with his briefcase full of teeth by candlelight, ready to do the deal.
This is how I'm going to set myself up as a millionaire. I'm going to start off by selling my teeth, which is usually the opposite of what's required to be a success in life. You know, by the time you're selling your teeth, things have gone really badly.
Look, at least you'd have a good story to tell when you showed off your school photographs, which were just guns.
Don't you have pictures? You guys must have pictures of you with like teeth missing in primary school.
Oh yeah.
Horrible.
My teeth were horrendous. Yeah. It's surprising I never need braces. They just they grew out of everywhere, and then somehow just maybe a few hockey balls and cricket balls to the face sorted it out.
I had no front teeth.
I always wondered how you fix teeth. It's with hockey balls, okay?
I had no front teeth for so many years. It was ridiculous. I lost my 2 front teeth at a very, very young age from and in those days we didn't know what was going on.
No.
But it was from too many antibiotics that actually rotted my 2 front teeth away. So
you had 2 teeth and then they went.
Yeah, so a lot of my baby teeth were rotted away from too many antibiotics. And so I had a toothless grin for many of my photographs growing up.
Themba, don't be too surprised. Every week we learn about some other terrible ailment or misfortune that has befallen Leigh-Ann. So this is not unusual for a Friday morning. Just
wondering why you all weren't so surprised.
My front teeth also rotted out.
My mom told me that it was from eating too many sweets. So I believed that for most of my childhood.
I would have too. Did your parents lie to you about swimming after lunch? They said you'd get terrible cramps and you weren't allowed for an hour after we'd eaten. We weren't allowed in the pool. I found out in adulthood that the reason they told us that was because they didn't want the noise and the stress. And they also wanted an hour of having to look after us while we were jumping around in the pool and making a racket. So it had nothing to do. They convinced us though that you would get cramps. So you know what? It ruined the whole credibility of everything else. Once I found that out, I was like, "Well, what about Father Christmas and the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy? Were those also? Did you make those up too?" No, turns out they did.
The crashing
Ethan says, 3Ann rocking the passion gap back in the D. And Carl is from the south of Joburg, which is also where Leigh-Ann is from. He says, I went to school in the south. They cancelled Civvies Day because all the girls dressed like hoes. Leigh-Ann is not laughing. She doesn't think that's funny at all. All right. TP says we had to pay 200 Rand a tooth. We had no change, but had to do the deal. Oh my God, that's a lot. 200 Rand a tooth.
Why it sounds like there was a negotiation or something. I thought like the child sleeps, you put what you have.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if there was an occasion where I think the tooth fairy forgot that I'd left a tooth there and I was heartbroken the next morning. So I've never forgiven that fairy. The next time she came into the room, I smashed her with a slipper and that was the end of her.
But just looking at that, there's so many times that we end up paying way more than we should for something because we don't have change.
Absolutely.
I mean, I remember once, or if you're drunk and you can't tell the difference between the notes. I came out of a bar once and someone had driven past my car and my side mirror was hanging by a wire. And they just kind of driven off and the car guard had taken down their number plate. So I was really pleased with this and I gave him 20 Rand only to realize the next day that it was 200 Rand. And when you're a student, that's a big difference.
Yeah, that's huge. Wow, that's a biggie.
He's the one who knocked the mirror off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to bring Riaan Manser in. He's someone who's well known to us at cliffcentral.com, but just in case you weren't paying attention, he is a pioneering explorer He has got 4 world firsts, including circumnavigating the African continent by bicycle, Madagascar and Iceland by kayak. He also nabbed a Guinness World Record for crossing the Atlantic from Morocco to Miami. And that was in a rowboat, by the way, with his wife, Vasti, who was going to join him again to break the Guinness World Record, which they did for the fastest row in history from California to Hawaii, a record that was previously held by a 4-man team. His adventures have given this guy the most incredible information and insight into how the world works. And he has become an ambassador, I suppose, for climate change, global warming, and the impact that we are having on the environment, both locally and globally. And it sparked a passion in Riaan, who is going to do everything he can to educate young people on conservation. And he's with us this morning. It's so nice to see you, man. How are you, Riaan?
Gareth, extremely well. Thank you. It never hurts when people say nice things about you. So thank you very much. Just one little correction.
Oh, yes.
And one correction is we weren't even married, man. When we went on that trip to New York City, we were still good old-fashioned boyfriend and girlfriend, man. So more applause needed for that,
What makes that so interesting is she still married you afterwards. I mean, that's what anyone would consider the anti-honeymoon. And look at you guys.
No, listen, we've done well, but I always tell people and people always think I'm making jokes. If I speak in front of audiences, people always think I'm making jokes when I tell them these stories. But the one thing Vasti used to tell me after that 6-month road to New York, she said she used to sit behind me in the rowing boat, and she used to say that morning she would get up, she would look at me in front of her, and I can't see her. She'd be holding this 3.5-meter oar. And then she'd be thinking to herself, yes, I could easily just take off this guy's head right upon. And then she'd have to pause and just remember that she needed me to row. So
what kept you alive was the fact that she wouldn't want to row on her own. That's all.
Loneliness would have, I think she was close sometimes in getting rid of me, man.
Yeah, dude, it's so good to see you though, and we'll talk in a moment about this Matrics in Antarctica thing that you're currently involved with. But what is your normal day-to-day life when you're not rowing across the Atlantic or the Pacific or going around Iceland? I mean, what do you do on a day-to-day basis? You mentioned just now that you do all these talks, and I imagine that you're a very much sought-after person to come and speak at big corporate events and schools and all kinds of places where people who feel like, they're already probably not doing enough with their life, get to listen to you and realize that they really aren't doing enough with their life. I mean, it's incredible. You're a proper overachiever. What's your day-to-day schedule like?
No, listen, overachieving would be a bit of an exaggeration. Listen, I definitely the bread and butter stuff is to speak, and obviously that's been difficult in the last 2 years. But you forgot to mention the churches and the pensioner homes. So I get out where I can just to share my story. Gareth, I've always loved that. I think as a kid, I was always the kid around the fire that was wanting to tell stories. And for me to now have these stories, in my back pocket, it's really good to share with people. And it's amazing how, and this, you can always just relate your life experiences to business, which is day-to-day life. Your question, listen, I'm a father of 2 little boys now, so that's exactly
full-time job.
It's busy, man. It's incredible. I've got a little 1-year-old and a 4-year-old, and the 4-year-old knows everything. I wish I was as wise as him. Just grow up with them, and also I'm an old father. I'm not like the youngsters dropping the James off at school. Yes, Gareth, I tell you what, it is. I look at the guys over there, and I'm thinking, 10 more years and I'm going to be grey all over, and I'm going to be the grandfather dropping James off.
Yeah, but you'll still be the guy who can row around Antarctica or whatever it is that you do. It's like that's way cooler than just looking young, Riaan. So just remind us, for those people who don't know, where did all of this start for you? Because I was joking with Themba and Leigh-Ann just now, and I said to them, if you gave me a free ticket to Antarctica, I probably would say thanks very much, but no, not for me. There are some people who just love and they have this spirit of adventure. You give them an exciting or exotic opportunity and they'll take it. You're the kind of guy who'd also go to Mars, if you were given half a chance. I know that for a fact. But how did it all start? What kind of a kid were you at school?
Yes, Gareth, you say something funny. It makes me think now. We were watching Who Wants to Be a Millionaire the other night. It's on CakeNet now. So the one question came up saying, who in 2002 was the first South African to go to outer space? And A was Elon Musk, B was Mark Shuttleworth, and C was Riaan Manser, and D was Mike Horn. And my wife and I the baby on my lap, and I'm thinking, my goodness, hey, there. Wow. And that's what you do. And it's what you do in your life. That it's not you being famous for one moment or getting back from a trip and people applauding you. It's this accumulation of things, and you guys know it from especially your business. The people that come through this sausage factory that you guys get to chat to, you see how those people who want to be the achievers, they realize it's a lifetime thing. Yeah. And so for me, where it started, Gareth, was very simple. I was like everybody sitting in that space where I was thinking, gee, this can't be my life going Monday to Friday, just chasing money, which I was. I was relatively happy. I had a nice car. I had a good job. I had a pretty girlfriend that liked me at the time. And things were good, man. And shucks, and then I just had that gut feel. And I wasn't hippified in any way, by any stretch of the imagination. But it's the feeling that everybody gets. Everybody gets. Even Themba and Leigh-Ann sometimes wake up in the morning and think, shucks, here I have to go to work again with Gareth. And that's not because they dislike this. The guys are, contemplating what's the bigger picture? What's the bigger picture? And strangely enough, in the last 2 years, more people have asked that. More people have actually made the move. I've got a little saying that goes something to the effect of, there's an ocean between saying and doing. There's nothing more true than that. You can talk about living a real life.
Absolutely right.
So, I wanted to live a real life, Gareth, in short.
Sure. Well, you really do. And I mean, it seems to me that there's no adventure too audacious for you. There can't be a lot of people who've done the things that you've done. You've got these Guinness World Records. But do you sit there now and go, oh, what am I going to do next? Like, is there pressure for you to do another crazy adventure, to do something wild? And do you ever feel like everybody's watching for the next big thing and you have to keep on upping the ante?
Absolutely. It's that, I'd be dodging a big elephant in the room if I was denying that. I do feel that pressure. I get into, it's like that scenario. I'm at the airport, waiting to board, and, people turning around and looking, and then I think, okay, maybe do they recognize, don't they recognize me? And then people would come up to me and say, hey, listen, I'm a big fan. And then they would follow up by saying, yes, I thought you were a lot taller, or I thought you were a lot bigger, that type of thing, which I think is just like hilarious, man. So it's the same thing. I think I have done some crazy journeys. I've been in scenarios, you talk about, I hear people sometimes discussing politics and Liberian rebel stories, and I was captured by rebels. I was held by them in the eye. I was caught by Al Qaeda. I mean, the stories that I think that I've been able to gather, and then try and top them up. And Gareth, you get to that point. We all do that. In our careers, you leaving, I don't know, 5FM and saying, listen, what do I do to better it? You weren't saying, where can I go and sail and just cruise? You were saying, how do I better it? And I am under that pressure, Gareth. I try not to make a big thing of it. I convince myself my 2 little boys are everything right now in the big challenge. But there's definitely one swan song. There definitely is one big journey. I know what it is. I'm just preparing for it mentally. I think maybe 2-3 years' time.
Wow, you say swan song. So are you thinking of wrapping it up after that?
Sorry, you just broke up there, Gareth.
Are you thinking of wrapping it up after that? After you do one more big adventure, is that going to be it?
Absolutely, Gareth. The type of stuff that I do. So, I mean, if you look at things that haven't been done, there's good reason. People don't do things because, I mean, you're probably going to die. The chances you are going to die. And I've been lucky, hey. I mean, you were talking about Iceland, and I was just thinking about Dan and I around Iceland. Dan is handicapped. He's a guy that normally doesn't even paddle. And here we are in the worst winter of 63 years trying to do what other people have not done. That's foolish and dumb and comes with its pressures. But the swan song, I think, is more just in the space of journeys that others haven't done. I want my little boys to be proud of me. I look at rugby players walk with their kids, or soccer players walk with their kids on the field for their 50th game. And I haven't had that chance with my boys. I want them to be proud, to know their dad did do something incredible with his life.
Well, I think you've already done that, my friend. I mean, there's loads of stuff to be.
Yeah.
For example, I mean, if everybody's at a dinner party and Riaan walks in, you just know no one's going to be talking to anyone else, right? He's going to be the star attraction for sure. Where in the world are you most excited to go? Like, what would you like to do next? Because there's so many places, and I mean, when you've been to exotic places like Antarctica or Iceland, where else do you want to go?
There's so many really some incredible places. I'll tell you the most recent that I was looking at, Basad, India, a little atoll that's in between Madagascar and Africa. Just out. It's just so incredible. And I remember when I was in Seychelles, I'd gone to a place, and I forget not the Roche, one of the islands also that's an atoll chain just in the Indian Ocean. And I was just blown away how these peaks just stick out, 1 meter just above the ocean. It's exotic, Gareth. I think exotic destinations have always attracted me, but I don't have a environmental angle to everything I do now, but I am more aware of it, like Antarctica. Every time I go to Antarctica, my recent trip in December again, I just look through different eyes. We were in Grootvadersbos this last month. We had to go choose the 5 students that go with us to Antarctica, and it was again just amazing walking through those redwoods. So to answer your question, it actually gets so complicated sometimes when you think of where to next. I think what people literally should do is throw a dart at the map, and bang, there I go. I'm off. Because you're going to find excuses why you shouldn't go, couldn't go, don't have the money. And but Basad, India is the recent thing that I was Googling.
So tell us about, since we're talking about Antarctica, what is this Matrics in Antarctica thing, and how are you involved, and what does Prof. Jonathan Jansen have to do with it? Like, give us a bit of a rundown of what this all is and who these 5 Matrics are.
So we had the opportunity. Well, I was going to Antarctica for one of my journeys. I was planning to go to the South Pole. It was just I don't want to say it was just a small adventure that I was planning, but it was going to be in the beginning of 2020. Where are we now? 2022. So that year of COVID, I think it was 2020. And then I was sitting in Australia. I was getting ready to go to Antarctica, and then everything was cancelled. And everything literally, and we all know how the calendar's just cleared for everybody in that year. And then my opportunity to go to Antarctica, I sat with the people who fly me to Antarctica, and I said to them, Marilla, what now? She said, oh, we can still try fly you. We can still try get you there. And then I said, what if you gave me a few extra seats? Could I take some guests with? And then they said, what do you mean? And why? Who would you want to take with? And then I said, I want to take 5 people that you wouldn't expect that I would, 5 students from the furthest corners in South Africa. And I was just spitballing. I was, the flights cost like 400,000 per seat, so I was just calling, and she said yes. She said, okay, wow. 5 students, you can do it. And I don't know,
you didn't go in with a plan. You didn't have like a proposal in mind. You were just you really just came up with the idea there and then.
Yeah, no pitch. I had no pitch document. And she said, yeah, you can, but if you meet Marilla also, you'll just see she's got a gut feel about something, and that's probably her success, her secret to life. And then just then I started going and I went to chat to my team and just said to them, listen guys, I've got this idea. I know it's a crazy idea. They said, hey, listen, it's COVID, nobody's flying anywhere. And I said, listen, we get onto the phone. I was onto the phone to Jonathan Jansen's of the world, to Minister Creasy. I was chatting Zoom calls the minister, and I'm chatting to Minister Creasy about this idea of taking 5 students to Antarctica. Yeah. And everybody said yes. Gareth, it's amazing. Everybody said yes. Everybody. I didn't have one no in that whole project. And this is our 2nd year.
You must have had a tough time, though, figuring out who to take with you, because there must have been many of these Matrics who are like, pick me. How do you choose?
Gareth, is incredible. I don't want to call them kids, because it's 2 years that we hang out with these young adults. They're incredible. A month ago, we chose the 5, and we did this live this time. We had them all in Cape Town. We had them for a week in Grootvadersbos, where it was like a Cape Nature Reserve, and it was very kumbaya around the fire, and we were training for the week, and we got to know them. But then it came to the Friday, a late afternoon, and we knew at 3:30 we were announcing them. And it was hard. I could have taken all 10. There is no doubt we could have. And I could have probably taken all the top 100 if I sent you some of these submission videos, you would be blown away saying, Riaan, I can't believe you didn't take Pete from Free State. You didn't take him. We've got 5 incredible students, but Gareth, we did need to absolutely confirm that these students had a mind and a real understanding of what the future looks like when it comes to saving the planet. We're not looking in Matrics and Antarctica for the next environmental activist. We don't need another toy outside 10 Downing Street or at the next climate conference. We're looking for that young person that's going to say, hey, I understand I have to make a difference, not just shout from the rooftops. I have to actually go make a difference. And that's what we see in the top 5 that won.
That's amazing. It really is so cool. I mean, I remember when we were in Matric, we'd be lucky if we got to, go to the South Coast, for example.
Yeah, going to Cape Town was like a big deal.
To the aquarium, those out. I remember I grew up in Zululand, which is far flung. It's not that fancy with the highway linking it to Durban now. I mean, for you to get onto that the Translux bus and be able to go to Durban on the 2-hour bus ride, people thought you were a rock star. Yes, you were talking about like I went to the Gunston 500, and so no, definitely these kids. I do look at them. I think when you get older and wiser, but also if you put in so much effort, you do. I don't know. I don't comb them over or grill them, but I do stare. I do look at these kids, and I'm trying to find out that little thing that tells me she appreciates what's happening for her. Yeah, she appreciates this because it is a big deal.
How long are they going for?
Well, Leigh-Ann, we take them for we plan for 5 days, 6 days, and then depending on weather, we always get caught there. Every trip I've been, we've been caught by a day or 2 just because of bad weather. So the students last year went for 7 days, and this year we budgeted for 6 days again, but it'll probably land up being 6 days again or 7 days again.
That's amazing.
Oh, that's really cool. Themba, you ever been to exotic places like this when you were at school? Did they have trips like this arranged for you?
No, not at all. So I grew up in a little town called Maltino, which no one knows about because the only claim to fame is the Omar Rusk factory, and that's where we went every year. It's just back to the Omar Rusk factory.
Year. Oh wow!
Every year, and they tried to make it feel new and exciting. They're like, and this is the back door where we bring in the dry ingredients.
Riaan, when you and your family go on a normal holiday, and I say normal in inverted commas, are people a little disappointed that you aren't like scaling Mount Everest or swimming in the Marianas Trench? Like if you
you're just in like a little cottage in Betty's Bay.
Absolutely, I get. Gareth, part of the privilege of and the reward of my 20 years of doing what I do is that people do invite me to visit their destination. So tourism bodies would usually invite me, and it is that pressure. I say to my wife, we'd get a request from, I'll just use an example, from Seychelles, and I would say, hey, listen, we will look after you and your family. It's that typical deal of looking after your family, and anything you want, you've got it. But when I arrive, like literally getting off the plane, it's like almost they might as well be handing you those knee guards or the elbow guards and the knee guards and a scrum cap, and because what they've got prepared for you is like, I'm thinking, buddy, I really do want to lie next to that pool. I really do just want to be sitting on an ice ball. I want to be doing the unusual stuff, not. We were ziplining, climbing walls, going to exotic places, jumping on the back of sharks, and no time to relax.
So Stone Philosopher says we don't need another Greta Thunberg, but I suppose that's what you were saying about activists and how the people who are going to change the future and make it a better world for all of us are not going to be people who just protest and say things at conferences. But I mean, it's really, really interesting to know that there are so many people who have this driving, unbelievable ambition to get to the far-flung corners of the world and go into dangerous places. And I mean, is there any trip that you really wanted to do, but you decided, no, this is too dangerous?
I actually haven't even thought of that. I haven't gone that far. I think right now, so just to answer you, definitely I know the guy that was 20 years younger and the guy now sitting with 2 little boys and a family. I wouldn't do the things that I did 20 years ago. So when I walked out of the ambassador's office in Abidjan, I can remember I had my bicycle, scruffy, my big beard, pulling the bicycle. And the ambassador said to me, Minister Zuma has said that if you go to Liberia, you head that way, we withdraw the diplomatic support. And she said something to the effect that we will not be able to bring your dead body out of Liberia. Oof. And I can remember walking out and it was supposed to shock me. I know that was her point. And also we'd just been sipping tea out of those tiny little cups. And it was very, very fancy and mild-mannered. But when I left, I realized she was serious. So I walked out of there, Gareth. I got on my bicycle. If you've been to Abidjan, big freeways, head out of the city and head north, up inland. And it was about 2 kilometers later, I had the decision to make because the off-ramp that I was taking was heading to Liberia. And I didn't even hesitate. Off I went. That civil war was in full swing, man. It was like literally a blood diamond in full swing. And there I was going. But if you ask me now, Gareth, I definitely wouldn't be brave enough to do that. Absolutely not. So hello, Uncle.
Well, you now have a beautiful child there. You have 2 of them, right?
2 of them, yeah. So this is Samuel.
Hello, Samuel. Look at Samuel. You can see himself in the video. Obviously, he's smiling. Look at him. What a happy boy. What are you going to do if your kids decide they're going to do dangerous things one day? You can't exactly say to them, no, you can't.
Gareth, it's everybody that hasn't been a parent. What's the cool thing about being a parent too is that you when you're not one, you always got all the advice for everybody else. Like, oh, I'd let my child do this, I'd let them do that, I'd let them do this. As I've got a child, I treat him, when I say badly, I mean it in a poetic way. It's like I don't let him get out of the car on his own in a parking lot because I'm thinking he won't be able to manage it, No, the answer is not a chance. This guy's going to be doing he's going to get a degree, he's going to have a proper job. None
of that adventuring nonsense that you got up to.
Yeah, no. Listen, I have been lucky. If I look back now, I think also, I've got a children's book coming out in May, and the children's book is based on my first book, the Around Africa on the Bicycle journey, and it was special writing that book. I wrote with a journalist, Murray Williams, and we spent a lot of time, thinking, why am I writing this? Why am I doing this? And the reflection was, for Murray at least, was that I don't know how lucky I actually have been over the last 20 years. So I actually don't. I'm not embarrassed in saying that I don't. That I am going to be ending the dangerous stuff in my career. I'm actually looking forward to putting my feet up and doing less dangerous stuff.
Well, it sounds like there's some danger going on in your house right now.
Well, it's 2 little boys that are just starting to wrestle. We did warn them this morning, Gareth, that you were going to be with us the morning, but James hasn't really taken the warning seriously.
He could care less about the stupid show of ours. He's like, where's my dad? I want him.
I must just tell you something, Gareth. Sorry, Leigh-Ann said something earlier, and it was something that made me laugh on one of my bicycle trips. I got to Egypt, and I always wanted to watch rugby, and it was on I was on my bicycle trip. Of course, put my bicycle into a little place that I could afford. I tried to find out where's the Egyptian rugby club, because I heard there was a rugby club in Cairo. So here I go, I climb into a taxi. If you've ever been to Cairo, they got this little black and white taxis. It's like, I don't mean as much English as only Arabic, so we're busy chatting. Eventually, I tell him, I show him on the map where I need to go. This guy is driving like a hooligan, and he's flying through that traffic. If it's 2 lanes, they fit obviously 5 or 6 cars on it. And there was a bus towards us, and he just kept going. There was no space for us, and he kept going. And I'm sitting on the side of the bus, and then he went right past the bus, and his rear view mirror smashed right off and landed on my lap. So he was that close to the bus. And then he got out. He still expected me to pay him after arguing with the bus driver.
Yeah, of course.
my little mirror story, Leigh-Ann, and then your 200 Rand story. I gave Fusty for her birthday, her 30th birthday. I gave her a potbelly pig. So then obviously I'm responsible for feeding this pig now and getting good food for it. So I go to Fruit and Veg City and I speak to the manager there. The guy knows me in Somerset West. And, he says to me, listen, go around the back. And then one of my staff are going to help you. We have cut-offs and stuff. And every day you can come and just collect. I go to the back there, I stand there, I talk to the guy that's like sort of managing this waste area, and he gives me 2 boxes. I put it in the back of my car, and I give him also just the 20 Rand. The next day I come back to get some more. This guy has packaged stuff for me. He's wrapped it. It's so beautiful. And I also then realized that I didn't give him 20 Rand. I gave him 200 Rand. It's a massive, massive problem being colorblind.
Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, dude, you continue to inspire so many of us. And I love the fact that the world has got amazing people like you in it. And it's an amazing world, but we sometimes need to see it through the eyes of someone like you, who's just enthusiastic about all of this. And I hope that the Matrics in Antarctica are appreciative of all the amazing adventures that they're going to have with you. But I'm sure that Mauritius is a little bit more pleasant than Antarctica. And I wish you luck in both respects.
Shame. Cheers, Gareth. Thank you. Yeah, we're very lucky. We because of COVID, we couldn't go right now to Antarctica. So we're taking these lucky, and that's just an exaggeration. I think we need to describe it slightly differently. But these students are going to Mauritius now as a replacement trip now in February. So very, very lucky students.
Well, just before you go, Happiness wants to know, I love traveling, but doing the dangerous stuff. How can I start on a tight budget? So what's a cheap, dangerous place to go to?
Just go to Table Mountain and run from side to side to see if you can stop before you slide off the edge.
Listen, I love it when people ask questions like that. I think the bottom line is just to get going. There's one place that I really like in South Africa that blows me away, is the amphitheater in the Drakensberg. Just to do that hike, that is on a little budget, and I'd go on a hike there. That would probably be a good start. But you know what the problem is? Happiness. If you're watching now, the problem is I find, and I've seen it over 20 years, is the people that come to me. You don't have to be doing dangerous stuff to prove anything to anybody. That's sort of the biggest fallacy. And the thing that I find with most people is they find excuses why they don't get going. Don't be that person that just says, I could have, should have, would have.
Yeah.
The person who puts your tackies on right now after watching the show and go for a run through Soweto. I don't know where you live or where you would consider dangerous, but it doesn't have to be dangerous. Just get out and do something.
Yeah, I mean, Carl says Hillbrow, cheap as chips and dangerous as fuck. That's some good advice. Very nice. Okay, excellent. Well done, Carl. Excellent idea. All right, and then Woody's also saying the Cape Flats. That's also nice and dangerous. So lots of really creative ideas coming from our audience. No doubt. I put a lot of thought into this. Riaan, nice to see you, man. And let's keep in touch. It's always good to catch up with you. And lots of love to the family.
No, thanks so much. And thanks for just enduring just a little bit of noise. And Themba and Leigh-Ann, thanks. You guys have got an incredible show, man. Keep it up.
Awesome. Thank you, dude. Nice to see you.
Thanks, Riaan.
Cheers. Bye-bye. Riaan Manser. What a guy, huh?
Yeah. He attended one of the events that I put together for a client of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And at that stage, he was sharing images of him and his partner who were doing one of these long haul trips alone on the ocean.
Yeah.
And it's so weird because just the other day, I remembered one of his stories where they were fighting with each other for days or even weeks. And just
must be so awkward.
Both of them were refusing to give up and start talking to the other. So they sat in silence for all of that time with no one else to talk to.
Well, I mean, it's also like, where are you going to go? If you're on a rowboat together.
Exactly.
Storm out.
Where are you going to storm out to? Like, there isn't another room to go into or something.
Yeah. So, I mean, these things that these adventurers do are way beyond just the physicality of, getting from point A to point B. They're testing everything inside them, their relationships, their will to live. It's just amazing.
Absolutely. So David says, I would love to pack up and go, but my wife would enjoy that far too much. He's not going to let that happen. A lot of other ideas for happiness. She says, well, this is Stone Philosopher. He says, happiness, you should go to the Orange River at Fjolsdrift. Yeah. Life-changing. Okay. What happens there, Stone Philosopher?
Probably hippos.
Is that why it's life-changing? Because the hippos will eat you?
Maybe.
That sounds the more exciting of the ones that have been advertised here. I think the most are quite dodgy. But a quick one, just I know you were chatting about confusing the notes and stuff. There's sometimes a case where you overcompensate, and I've recently discovered this at KFC. You know, they always used to ask how many children, they always ask, would you like to donate £2 for hope? And it's quite easy.
They don't ask you. They make you feel like you're an evil, horrible son of a bitch if you don't give that £2 for hope. They're like, would you like to donate to add £2 for hope? And you're like, well, now the way that you put it, if I don't do it, I'm an asshole, right?
Yeah.
But you see, they switched it up cleverly so, in that they used to say, would you like to donate? Which is easy. You've given me a way out. It's a yes or no answer. Now they just say, how many children would you like to feed? I can't say none. Yeah. That doesn't sound right. So I overcompensate.
Driving away with your
guard with my bucket of chicken.
Yeah.
So now I just got caught off guard, and I said I'd love to feed 3 children, please. So now I'm £6 down on a meal I was already coming very close to not being able to pay for. So, don't overcompensate. That's the lesson.
Absolutely. So look who's here. It's George Mienie. Hey, George, how's it going?
Hey, how's it, Gareth?
Hey.
Leigh-Ann.
How's it?
You have met Themba, I think. Have you not?
Name rings a bell, but face doesn't. Maybe it was...
lovely to officially meet you.
Lovely to meet you, Themba.
So, George, I mean, you heard what Riaan Manser's doing. You know, we talk about transport. Obviously, you know, you deal with cars every day, but you guys also do sell all kinds of other stuff on Auto Trader, right? You sell bikes. Do you have more exotic things than that for sale on Auto Trader?
Well, I mean, if you think trucks are exotic, yes. So you know, we've got the commercial part of our business, you know, Pantechnic and trucks, and you know, those cats digging machines and you know, those big earth moving equipment. But on the riding or driving side, any kind of bike, any kind of car. But when it comes to exotics, I'm trying to think of, you know, what would be classed outside of things like a McLaren or a Ferrari. You know, we've had a couple of special vehicles on the site, like, you know, somebody has modified a Land Rover for, you know, going into funny places, and but it's heavily modified. But those are really few and far between.
Okay. Hey, listen, I mean, I've told you already that sometimes late at night when I can't go to sleep, I'm on Auto Trader just looking up all the sexy cars that I can't afford. But I'll continue to do that. So, George, what's happening in the news this week in terms of roads, traffic, automobiles, cars, bikes, all that kind of exciting stuff?
Well, you know that Florida is a place we talk about quite often.
Only because it's embarrassing.
Exactly. So I thought I'd dig up this story from Florida, which is the Florida authorities, the Florida Department of Motor Vehicles, rejected over 500 applications in 2021 for personalized plates. Now, we've spoken about personalized plates before, right? But what I thought I would surface is what are some of the plates that people actually attempt to register. Rather than talking about the plates themselves. So here's a few of them. 2020 WTF. Okay, that's quite mild. 2020 like WTF.
Okay.
FU 2020. To register.
in a close second place.
In a close second place. So both of those were declined. And then politically inspired plates they don't allow, which is FJBIDN.
Oh, fuck Joe Biden. Yeah, that's cool.
And then some people are really not happy with the speed of their cars or how slow they are. So one guy tried to register SL0WP0S.
That's a nice thing to drive past on the highway.
Exactly. Or another guy wasn't happy with his car, so he tried to register the plates SHITB0X.
Can I just quickly ask? So the F2020 number plates, surely they didn't have such a bad year if they're getting customized number plates for. Just sounds
that's point. It's an absolutely good point, because these number plates are not cheap.
They need to donate. They need to feed more kids at KFC.
That's what's up.
Exactly. When you were talking about that just now before I came on the show, there's a couple of platforms that I've noticed that on, and it actually irritates me because they, it should be a choice. You shouldn't be forced to.
Correct.
Guilt trip
for me. Yeah. So a couple of the others that I think are interesting to note is somebody tried to register, a pharmacist tried to register the plate drug man.
Oh,
and they rejected it.
Well, also you're going to be stopped by crack addicts on the road, and they'll be saying, "Hey, what do you got for me, man?"
Exactly. And then two more that were rejected were a Dead AF.
Oh, right.
Mm-hmm.
And then another one called with the letters KLLER.
Ooh. Yeah, well, I mean, especially if you are one,
No, if you're a serial killer.
You are a killer.
And then I don't use, I don't promote businesses or products or things, because this is absolutely not sponsored, but I know that you and I have spoken about it before, Gareth, and we think that it's a really good initiative. And that is the partnership with the Joburg Roads Agency, Discovery Insure, and Dial Direct with the pothole repairs.
Oh, yes. Excellent. Yes,
excellent
this is a good
initiative.
Bring it up. That's important. People need to know.
So we're no one's getting paid on the screen for me saying this, but Discovery Insure and Dial Direct have now brought out a pothole insurance for your tires at a minimal amount. So if you do hit one of the potholes that they haven't repaired, well, you know what, you can take out insurance on it.
Yeah, there are two huge potholes right outside our gate here, and like we were talking about it on the kind of community WhatsApp group, right? And people were saying, well, we can't really fix it, even though we probably could, just all of us get together and do it, because the problem is, like, what if someone bursts a tire or something goes wrong or whatever, and then of course all of us are liable for having fixed it. So you actually have to get the municipality to do it, or someone like Dial Direct.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's very interesting, because are you culpable because you messed with the pothole, is what you're saying.
Apparently that's what it is.
Yeah, that's don't go mess with potholes, even if you think you're doing a good deed, I suppose. And then the Road Traffic Management Corporation in South Africa has launched the online license booking system, which you don't have to now, because before now you had to go into the licensing department to get your license disc. I mean, you can do it at Pick and Pay, and so there's lots of convenient ways to actually physically do it. But now you can go onto their online booking system through the natus.gov website and go and book your license.
You'll be pleased to know we discussed this not so long ago, George, but I managed to get an appointment, and I'm actually going to get my driver's license done today. I went for the eye test on Wednesday. I got the pictures, I filled in the forms, so now I'm ready to go, and I will hopefully come out of there with a temporary license, and I'll get my license card once they fix the machine, and the machine's up to, kind of caught up with all the backlog that there is.
Yeah, well, is that machine back in South Africa? I actually don't know.
Yes, yeah.
Is it back?
Didn't you see Fikile Mbalula on the TV the other day? The machine is working again.
Have they given you a forecast? Because I know they were horribly backed up.
No.
I mean, are you this year? Will you get your card this year?
I have no idea. We'll have to see.
No idea.
No.
Anyway. Very finally, Gareth, one of my big bugbears with cars and car manufacturers, or as a matter of fact, anybody for that matter, is, sometimes it's worth sticking to your knitting. For instance, if you're a carpet manufacturer, don't try and manufacture couches. first get the skills to manufacture couches. You're going to make a crap couch.
Yes.
So and the same goes for cars. I mean, how much do you really use the navigation maps in your car versus Google Maps?
Hang on. Quite a lot, actually.
But then you've got a car with a very good map system.
No, because mine links to the phone.
But that's Apple CarPlay. That's not actually using the car.
You're talking about the onboard built-in navigation.
Yes, most people are using Apple CarPlay, and most manufacturers have integrated with Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. But there's another interesting integration that has just happened, and that is Jaguar and Land Rover have integrated their cars' software with Amazon Alexa.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to say that quietly because she might just answer.
Yeah.
But that's a very interesting move from a software point of view, because it's almost like these. Have you tried to use the voice assistants inside cars? They're not great.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Sometimes it doesn't. Yes, no. But Amazon Alexa is really, really good at understanding language. And Jaguar and Land Rover have now built this into their software with their cars going forward.
Makes sense. Can you imagine how much money they wasted building their own navigation systems, and all of that stuff? Now people are just using their phones and just completely overriding that. There must have been an enormous investment that just turned into nothing.
Someone's in trouble.
Yeah. All right, George, nice to see you. Themba, thanks very much for your participation today. It was lovely to play with you guys. And Leigh-Ann, we will see you on Monday.
See you then.
Awesome.
Guys,
have a lucky weekend.
Cheers, you too. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, guys.
Awesome Friday.